Grandma Nini died. She had lived a good, long life, raised 3 great kids. There were two sons and a daughter. And one weekend, a few months after the funeral, her kids had all come together to see to their mom's belongings. If you've ever done that, it can be kind of a melancholy job, but every family has to do it. And they had been working all morning, kind of moving stuff, cleaning, and trying to figure everything out. And so they took a break at lunch, and they were sitting around the kitchen table. It was the same kitchen table that they had sat together with as kids. And they were eating their sandwiches, and they were remembering. Steve, the baby of the 3 kids, looked at the refrigerator and said, I can still see Mom standing there, pouring me a glass of milk. Do you remember that sweet thing that she used to do whenever she'd get us a glass of milk? Remember how she'd take that first tiny sip to make sure that it wasn't spoiled? She's always looking out for us. Randall, the analytical engineer of the family, raised his eyebrows. No, that wasn't it. Mom wasn't sipping our milk to test it for freshness. She was sipping our milk because she always overfilled the glass. She had no sense of spatial relations at all, and it used to drive me crazy. Beth, the oldest and perhaps the most cynical of the kids, looked at her 2 brothers like they were the 2 biggest idiots she had ever seen. You're both wrong. She was stealing our damn milk. Thus we have the mystery of Mom's milk. Based on what we know, Grandma Nini was a devoted caregiver, an incompetent dunderhead, or a mother who would steal from the mouths of children. Or it is possible that she was just an extremely thirsty woman. The world will never know. It's all about perception. In church, Jesus is made out to be human perfection. He broke bread with those that the world despised. And we see that as the acceptance and the love of God. That is what we teach our children. We sing praise to his name. But that was not a universal perception. Jesus knew this.
Jesus said about himself, "The human one came eating and drinking, and they say, 'Look, a glutton and a drunk, a friend of tax collectors and sinners.'"
His detractors didn't see inclusiveness. They saw a glutton and a drunk who hangs out with scum. So what's the truth? What kind of woman was Grandma Nini? What about Jesus? We've got 4 perspectives on the life of Jesus in the Bible alone. There are others, too ancient, but not put into the Bible. So we turn to the facts. And sometimes facts are painful. Sometimes it's tempting to ignore them. But then that's just a lie. So what are the facts? As best we can determine, based on the evidence at hand, Grandma Nini always sipped the milk. And from every source that we have, Jesus ate and drank with the poor and with outcasts. That's what he was known for. These are the stone-cold facts as best as can be determined. But what do they mean? This happens to all of us. People look at the facts of our lives and they make judgments about your character, about your worth, and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Jesus asked, "Who do people say the human one is?" They replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others Elijah, and still others Jeremiah, or one of the other prophets." He said, "And what about you? Who do you say that I am?"
Some people looked at the facts of his life and thought he was a glutton and a drunk. People can look at the same facts, can experience the same circumstances in life, and do completely different things with them. Kids can grow up in the same household, but grow into very different people. A trauma might happen that might make one person into a monster, but make another person into a hero. An incident might happen that you might see as a blessing, but I might see it as a curse. What you hear as a compliment, I might take as an insult. And you and I, we are not always in control of what happens. As Jesus said, God makes the sun rise on the righteous and the unrighteous. God sends rain on both the good and the evil. Rain may water one person's crop so that they get a bumper yield. That same rain may flood the house of another person. We are not in control of any of that. And that is a fact. What we do have, though, is our perception. We get to decide on that. And how we choose to perceive determines a whole lot about what kind of life you're going to have.
The kingdom of heaven is like a man who was leaving on a trip. He called his servants and handed his possessions over to them. To one he gave 5 valuable coins, to another he gave 2, and to another he gave 1. He gave to each servant according to that servant's ability. Then he left on his journey. After the man left, the servant who had 5 valuable coins took them and went to work doing business with them. He gained 5 more. In the same way, the one who had 2 valuable coins gained 2 more. But the servant who had received the 1 valuable coin dug a hole in the ground and buried his master's money. Now, after a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The one who had received 5 valuable coins came forward with 5 additional coins. He said, "Master, you gave me 5 valuable coins. Look, I've gained 5 more." His master replied, "Excellent. You are a good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a little. I'll put you in charge of much. Come, celebrate with me." The second servant also came forward and said, "Master, you gave me 2 valuable coins. Look, I've gained 2 more." His master replied, "Well done. You are good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a little. I'll put you in charge of much. Come, celebrate with me." Now the one who had received 1 valuable coin came and said, "Master, I knew that you are a hard man. You harvest grain where you haven't sown. You gather crops where you haven't spread seed. So I was afraid, and I hid my valuable coin in the ground. Here, you have what's yours." His master replied, "You evil and lazy servant. You knew that I harvest grain where I haven't sown, and that I gathered crops where I haven't spread seed? In that case, you should have turned my money over to the bankers, so that when I returned, you could give me what belonged to me with interest. Therefore, Take from him the valuable coin and give it to the one who has 10 coins. Those who have much will receive more, and they will have more than they need. But as for those who don't have much, even the little bit they have will be taken away from them. Now take the worthless servant and throw him outside into the darkness. People there will be weeping and grinding their teeth.
You get to choose the filter with which you interpret your life. You get to choose the filter with which you interpret Scripture. You get to choose how you want to look at your mom, and for everyone else in that matter. If you perceive that you are constantly being robbed, then you live in a world of fear of constantly being robbed. If you live in a world where you believe that